Did you see my video about Fire Emblem Jagans? I sure hope you did. Otherwise, this intro's pretty awkward. Speaking of awkward, subscribe and hit that notification bell, please. Doing that and leaving a like and a comment lets me know that you enjoy these Fire Emblem videos that I put out. Speaking of Fire Emblem, with Fire Emblem Engage coming out, one thing that has a lot of people, including little old me, very excited is the return of character archetypes. With the game coming out this month, I thought it would be pretty fun to look at character archetypes throughout the series, talk about why they're cool, pick my favorites, and talk about how they work in Engage. Even if I do kind of think the idea of character archetypes is a little weird, you know what, it's fun, that's what matters. And to start, except not really, I figured, why not? Let's talk about my favorite one of them all, the Est archetype. Why do I love Ests? What even are Ests? Are they the best? Stealing jokes from Fire Emblem Heroes right now. Because they've got it all, baby! Popular characters, insanely high growth rates, a sense of challenge and accomplishment when using them, and best of all, an endless sea of controversy and arguments surrounding them. Oh, and the Est being best was not only from Heroes, but partially because of my chat. They ordered me up to it. Come watch me play Fire Emblem live on my Twitch channel. Well, it should come as no surprise that the name comes from Est, a Pegasus Knight from the very first game. This spunky sister, see, the alliteration works, she has two sisters, and she's spunky, trust me on that one, joins fairly late in the game, and she doesn't even have the decency to join at a high level. And I don't mean, oh, she's low-leveled but promoted, meaning she's ready to kick butt. She joins unpromoted. At this level. That level! Those stats! In Chapter 18! My eyes! The goggles do nothing! Why would you even use a unit like this? These growth rates! That's why! My eyes have been healed by their heavenly glow. These may not look nicer than getting a 1% crit by modern Fire Emblem standards, but by the standards of the first game, you really don't get better than this. Almost 70% in every stat, except for defense and res, can make for a unit with insane potential to snowball. She may join as a zero, but if you give her some love and affection, she can become a hero. Well, she actually can't become a hero. That's not a class option for her. She can only become a Wyvern Rider, but hey, that's actually even better than being a hero. Many Fire Emblems after this one like to include units that join very late and start very weak, but get insanely good level ups on average that allow them to become insanely good. It's worth the wait seeing these once sad and pathetic kids become cool. We can all relate to that, at least, yeah? The problem with Ests is that, by the point in the game you get them, you already have plenty of great units that are trained and ready to go. Why raise up an Est when you could realistically still be using your Jagan? Okay, yeah, that's pretty cool, but is it worth it? Being brutally honest, no, it's not. And oftentimes, Ests are among the worst units in any given Fire Emblem game. They just don't offer enough to justify training them and going through the struggle of getting them to be competent, not to mention good. And you know what? That's okay. Not every unit has to be worth it to be fun. Ests are a blast to use because seeing something so absolutely worthless become a murderous killing machine is just cool. Using Fire Emblem 7, or dude, the blazing blade. Wow. Just look at all the colors, man. As an example, you get 3 traditional mages, Urk, Pent, and Nino. Directly comparing classes has its own bucket list of problems, I know, but I'm just doing this to make a point. You get Urk very early on in the game. He hasn't promoted yet, and his stats are good. His growth rates get the job done, and on average, there are plenty of ways to make him work. Good unit. Towards the mid-game, you get Pent, who is infamous for how easily he can just destroy this game. He's already promoted, he has great stats, he's even got some pretty good growth rates, got great weapon rings, staff utility, amazing combat, good movement, even a ready-to-go A support that gives him some defense if you have room on your team for Luis. The only real issue with Pent is that you get him towards the mid-game. He'll likely be far better than Urk, but when you get Pent, you'll already have things like promoted units and good weapon rings. Urk is around when you really need the help, which is great because he has some really useful traits. Magic is light, is accurate and targets the, for the most part, weaker stats of your enemy's defense. He has the potential to be great, even if he doesn't get the best level ups, but you have to work to get him there during a point in the game where everyone is competing for EXP. On the flip side, Pent is self-reliant with great utility and combat, but doesn't join until your army is so much better than that group of little bebes that you were training up when Urk was in question. Both of these units have legitimately great things going for them and are very interesting to compare, even if Pent is better in almost every way. Sorry, Eric. So what does Nino offer?
Nuts! Least favorite puppy. Least favorite.
Nino doesn't have a lot of positive traits, but she does have a lot of fun ones. For example, while her stats are really bad considering her joining chapter, they aren't that bad overall. If you weaken an enemy for her, she can pretty reliably get the kill. And when she does get a kill, since her level is so low, she'll get all of the EXP, and since her growth rates are these, she'll get these level ups. On top of all that, Nino's been present throughout the story as this very low confidence kid who just wants the approval of, I don't know, literally anybody. Her mother is abusive, she's raised by a group of awfully incompetent assassins, and despite all that, she's super nice and positive and just this tiny little ray of sunshine. Urg's just some dude, and Pen has a wife. They don't need anything, but Nino needs the world. She deserves the world. And you know what? She's getting the world. Now, when your arguments are, it could be worse, and poor baby, I love her, you're not gonna get very far. Urk has time to grow in traits nearly no other unit in the early game has, while Pent comes ready to go and can basically solo most of the game with some of the best utility available. If you want to raise a late game unit, you can recruit Farina, who comes earlier than Nino, with better stats, a better weapon type, and flying utility. If you want to use a unit you get after Nino, you still have a few options. Jafar's not amazing, but Silencer is fun. Renault basically exists to be your Warp Staff user. Athos can handle the final map by himself, literally. And Carla... Okay, well, Nino is actually better than Carla, but my point stands. What Nino, and many Ests by extension, have going for them over most other units is that lightning in a bottle combination of fun traits. You get them late, they're hard to train, but they feel totally worth it when you see those stats and those level ups. Not every Est functions the same way. A game like Path of Radiance, for example, makes things interesting with Alencia, who joins late with the underwhelming stats that you'd expect, but has a personal weapon, useful staff utility, and is a flyer. Being a flyer is never a bad thing. She's also force deployed on one of the most boring chapters in all of Fire Emblem, and hey, she's right there to make it slightly less painful. Alencia is actually not that bad of a unit because of these traits, even if you only have her for 4 or so chapters. And if you're using her for combat, though, yeah, maybe not. You might want to not do that. Ests were everywhere in the early days, but have sizzled out in some of the more recent games, remakes notwithstanding. It's hard to say why exactly. I would assume when these are your standard growth rates, it's hard to justify using a late game unit whose main claim to fame is these growth rates. Still, I really miss them. Whenever I play Echo Shadows of Valentia, for example, I always get so excited to use someone like Jessie or Delthea or co-figure Est. Sophia, Peleus, Kurthnaga, Alencia, Nino, Ewan, heck, even someone like Charlotte in FE4 is super fun. Are they optimal? No. Are they good? No. Are they traditionally the most fun units to use in the series? I mean, I think so, and for me, that's good enough. Although, I personally got Nino to level 2020 in a draft race, so if you think you like Ests, then you can just get on my level, okay?